Okay, calling the meeting to order here at 6:06. If everyone could please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda is public announcements from the Health Department.
Okay, I got a few for you tonight. First of all, flu vaccines, we have plenty. We have lots, please. If anybody was looking for a flu vaccination, you can register for an appointment online at abingtonma.gov or call the health department. We'll get you set up. We are still waiting on COVID vaccines. Moderna has been pretty uncooperative in giving us an ETA, so we're probably going to order Pfizer at this point. So I still don't have a date that we'll have COVID vaccines available. In other news, the health department recently attended the Mass Health Officers Association annual conference, where our public health nurse, Lindsay Wright, was awarded the Public Nurse Award of the Year.
Aww, that's awesome.
Her outstanding contributions to the field, so. She does not like public acknowledgement, so I wanted to take a minute to publicly acknowledge Lindsay on that award. Reminder to all our food establishments, body art establishments, septic haulers, trash haulers, body art practitioners, and does it cover everybody? And tanning facilities, that annual permit renewals are due by December 1st. Town of Abington bylaws state that if your application is not in by December 1st, the fee is doubled. So I'm really hoping to avoid to hit people with a double charge. They need to get those in as soon as possible. And lastly, a couple updates on our compost site. A few months ago, Eagle Scout candidate came to the board to talk about his project. The kiosk has been completed and will hopefully be installed by the DPW Monday or Tuesday of next week.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome.
awesome.
So we'll have a big information kiosk outside the gate so people can pull in off hours and get information on the site.
And have no reason to dump, because we'll have
Correctly,
information
and-
on the kiosk.
What is the Eagle Scout candidate's name?
Joseph Cotter.
Justin Cutter.
Yep. And he'll probably come back before the board once it's
Right.
completed to let us know. And
That
so
would be great.
we can sign off on it.
Awesome.
And on that note, I went to the compost site today and somebody after hours had dumped 5 bags of leaves. So I just want to remind our residents that yard waste can only be dropped off during open hours on Saturdays. Anything left outside the gate is considered illegal dumping, and that is a $1,000 fine. And we do have cameras, and we will fine you. So please don't do that.
Now, that's open up until December?
Until December, 9 to 2 on Saturdays, and we currently have a volunteer sitting the site on Wednesdays for yard waste only.
Okay.
In addition, generally, we contact the DPW when the pile gets too close so that they can push it back. We did contact them last week, but they were very busy doing other projects and were not able to get to it. We had several incidents this weekend with large lines out on the street and some residents being verbally abusive to our volunteers. So I just want to take a moment to publicly acknowledge that that is completely unacceptable. If anybody is yelling or berating our volunteers, they will be banned from the site for life. That site is staffed by volunteer senior citizens who are residents of Abington, and if people are feeling free to abuse them, we will shut the site down. There's absolutely no need for that. There is no excuse, and it is not going to be tolerated. So apologize to all of our volunteers that have had to put up with that, and just remind our residents to be respectful. It's a service we provide the town that we do not need to provide to the town. We're happy to do it. It's a great program, but we are not going to tolerate our volunteers being abused.
And it's completely out of control, not that it's ever acceptable, but completely out of control of the people that are there.
Yep.
So
They do their best to manage it when it's backed up like that, but, if you get there and you got leaves and there's a line, go get yourself a cup of coffee, go get some breakfast, come back.
Right.
That's,
The pile will still be there.
pile will still be there, yes. I'll be there the next Saturday, and we are trying to alleviate the rush by doing Wednesdays as well, but
Okay.
that's all we can offer at this time. So, that's it for announcements.
Awesome. The discussion or action items, the next part of the agenda, discussion and possible vote to strike sections from the draft regulation restricting the sale of tobacco and vape products in the draft regulation prohibiting smoking in the workplace and public places. We did have the public hearing at the last meeting on October 16th. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts based on the testimony, or if Chris had any additional things to add here.
I do have some comments on the testimony that I'll mention during correspondence, because
Okay.
we did get a letter from them.
I want to say about that, I understand that we have and as someone who's coming in after you guys did this all last winter and spring, so I'm kind of playing catch up and just kind of understanding this, but the idea that you can't have anything flavored tobacco, but you can have flavored marijuana, everything. I think if something is understood, yes, it could be used for tobacco, but culturally it's used for this. I feel that it's a gray area, that until the state says something, we should not be the ones touching that.
Yeah.
Does that make
I-
sense?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think that, it's been a while since I've seen anybody roll a cigarette, to be perfectly honest with you, probably.
Right,
like
and it's,
40
and I think it's like culturally, like, and if they do, and they get around it, and they get a flavored wrap for it, that's the way around it. The state didn't think of that, but we can't say you can't have that when it's traditionally used
Right.
for marijuana, when you can go to Buds and get everything flavored under the sun, including flavored wrapping papers and flavored gummies and all these things. Like at the end of the day, I know it's two different products, but they're both smoked,
Right.
and they both might be potentially smoked in public. I don't know, it's just, I think that's,
Yeah, you want to make the,
that feels, let someone bigger, it feels above my pay grade. That's the best way to
think- yeah.
describe it. Like, I feel like that's mean. I don't know, it also just doesn't make sense to me. I understand the flavored tobacco, we don't wanna do it. But then you have flavored other things that you can smoke, so it's like, what was this, what was the point of it? I don't know. I'm coming in from the end of it, so I get the frustration.
well, I think
but I
what you're
think-
saying is that you don't want to put a vendor, like a vendor at a competitive disadvantage
Correct.
to, like, when somebody else can sell the exact same thing at their
And there's
business.
and in the state, there's such an oversaturation of these marijuana shops to the point that some of them aren't even opening now because they can't, but they can sell all these things, but the tobacco products keep getting more and more restrictions on them, and I understand why. Like I said,
Right.
it's still a vendor at the end of the day. The
Right.
wrapping papers themselves do not cause harm, and I don't see a reason for that.
I disagree. I
Yeah.
don't, I know, I feel like he doesn't sell any marijuana paraphernalia in his shop. He is selling tobacco, and I think that's one of the questions that I was trying to ask during the open meeting was, how many times do you sell the tobacco and the flavored wraps at the same time? And he said he was never at the front of the store and couldn't give us a concise answer. But I think, like, there needs to be a ban then, like, you can't buy the flavored wrappers and a tobacco product at the same time. They would have to be in completely different sales, because I feel like it's our duty to make sure that we're not encouraging any kind of tobacco sales with the use of a flavored product.
Yeah,
We can say, so the draft regulations that we are looking at were drafted by the Mass,
state,
they were Mass Association of Health Boards, which generally does draft regulations when the state's not doing it at the state level. These definitions are adopted by all 351, 356, whatever communities in
351
Massachusetts. And if you look through the definitions, it does specifically define tobacco product flavor enhancer as including a rolling paper with a characterizing flavor shall be considered a tobacco product flavor enhancer.
Right.
So, while it's for all intents and purposes at the state level, because every other community is using these same exact definitions, it's any product that, and where rolling papers fall into this is because they may be used with tobacco. Basically and this has been backed up in court cases. Basically, either you sell tobacco or you sell marijuana
Right.
products.
so you're in one business or the other.
Yeah, and if you like marijuana shops, they're not allowed to be a licensed tobacco retailer.
Okay.
So, it's a separate thing. He's
So there
right
is
that anybody can sell, marijuana accessories, but the state law defines, tobacco product flavor enhancer as It's the same with the little pouches that people can put in their
Right, I
mouth
know,
now.
yeah, yeah.
Again, if you're selling it at a place that doesn't sell tobacco, it's just whatever it is, but if you're selling it adjacent to tobacco, it's specified as a tobacco product flavor enhancer.
Okay.
And it is enforceable, so that's,
So rolling papers unflavored would be allowed because that's an accessory.
Yeah.
But if it's flavored, you can't.
you can't. And blunt wraps, have been illegal in Abington for at least a
Ever.
decade.
Right.
So I think that was just some confusion on his part.
Well, that's important clarification, I think.
This is
too.
really helpful for me to understand. Like,
Yeah.
I've read through some of this, but there's a point where it's so in-depth, or
Yeah, it gets them.
it starts to get like, and also the classic, like the archival knowledge of what's been done before, what hasn't been done. This is helpful to know. So has every other community around us, or every other municipality already adopted these, or are we fairly new in the?
Most of them have adopted some version, either the last set of regs or this current one. I did note when I was going through this that the items that were added, that the board didn't discuss, no other community, at least in the immediate
You had talked about that,
area
yeah.
around us, has those regs. I'm not sure where those came from.
Particularly the training portion, right?
Yeah, or they, and the problem with the training, like I said, there's no way to certify. There's no, something set up in the.
Right, there's
The
no
clause
actual
says it has to be
training.
certified.
Right.
I mean, if the board felt that that was necessary, the health department could set something up
Right.
But we
and
would
run
have-
the
We
training,
would have
but
coordinated with you.
yeah, we would be the only community in Massachusetts, to my knowledge, to do that.
Do that, right.
And like I said, prohibiting the adult shops would be difficult because we have existing tobacco. You could, I suppose, ban any more from
Mm-hmm.
coming into town, but you couldn't ban existing ones.
Right. Well, I
But
think-
yeah, the enhanced flavor, that's pretty much accepted across the
Okay.
state.
Yeah, okay.
That's where I was, again, it's like, that feels like a gray area. So again, I'd love someone
Yeah.
to explain it more, so thank you.
No,
And then, we can go back to when it comes to the letter, I had a question about that too. But, I'm in agreement with this, like, that all makes more sense now. I think that's really helpful to understand that. I think my only thing would be the training, sounds like it's something that we could add in later. That concerns me that we put that in there and it's not, or
Wasn't
certification.
discussed.
It wasn't discussed and it's not available, so why say you need to do this thing that we don't offer? It feels very non-transparent and.
Yeah, because the board would have to decide on what would be
What is
acceptable
it?
training.
Training, right.
Yeah, so I think, if we, what is it? Under, F, training for store personnel, at least 2 employees by a training course approved. So I think,
We haven't approved a training course,
Yeah.
Right.
or a certification.
so there's no way that they could be compliant.
Yeah, and in order for them
Exactly.
to be, on the current permitting process, all employees who are handling sales of tobacco have to be knowledgeable of the regulations.
Right.
So that's in effect what that F regulation is
Right.
doing, is just
Saying that you have.
formalizing
right.
it as a training.
But if we don't have the formalization, that
Yeah, then,
feels.
Well,
icky.
essentially that they would be sign off that they've read the regulations and they understand them,
yeah.
would be the training. So we could clarify that in that they're just saying that that's what we expect for them to, as far as training is concerned, right? We could do that.
Like store personnel, instead of training store personnel knowledge, at least 2 employees of the retail establishment will be knowledgeable of the laws, regulations, best practices of tobacco retail. Kind of thing, and then everything else just goes, maybe?
Right,
or
I
something
think
like that.
anything, I
Just-
feel comfortable striking anything that was added that wasn't discussed when we went through it initially. Like, I think that's reasonable, and
Yeah.
then the other, if we, like you said, if we ever wanted to go back and add back in, we could, but make it a second.
We're just adding in like a section
Well-
of a
Yeah.
established,
I do think too, I mean,
Thing.
we do have 2 members who are not here tonight,
Yeah,
so I do think it's important, kind of maybe that
include
we.
them.
Well, to include them in some of these, because I don't want them to feel like that, after going through this and kind of,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
Aaron, looking at it for, 6, 7 months or 8 months here at this point, that we end up like, taking something out that he might feel strongly about as well. So I think although it's good conversation, I think it moves the ball forward to where we can kind of get to a resolution on some final regulations. This conversation tonight, I think it would be important to make sure that we kind of hold off on a final
Table it.
vote for the next meeting.
yeah, I agree. This was helpful for me though, so.
Yep, no, it is for me as
answering.
well. I mean,
all my
it's,
questions.
you know, tattoos and this are not my forte.
I have a bunch, I just wanna know how to regulate it, so.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion to put it on the back burner for now?
We
or-
don't have really a motion on the table, so I don't think we
just-
It was
don't. I mean,
discussion
To-
and possible votes,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have any, no one's made a motion, so it would be like, I think we could just move on to the next
Okay.
thing, or, you know, vote to table it till the next meeting, so fine.
Perfect.
Do we wanna discuss the letter, if we're already in this discussion?
Well, what we'll do is
Point?
we'll do the
Or did
vote of,
part of
we'll,
the correspondence,
well,
sorry.
yes, so we'll approve the minutes, and
Okay.
if anyone doesn't have anything else on this issue,
Okay.
you know, I think, again, I think it's good from a standpoint
Thank
of, you know, good conversation and kind of gets us moving forward to
Yeah.
where we want to be.
Agree.
Okay, so we have the minutes from October 16th have been printed, and everyone has a copy of it. If anybody wants to make a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, I have a motion by Amanda and seconded by Katie to approve the October 16th minutes as written. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. They've been approved. Thank you. The final thing on the agenda here is we do have the correspondence that Chris spoke of earlier.
Okay. Yeah, we received, well, I should say the Board of Health received a correspondence from David and Lisa Brennan at Abington News. I'll just read that in for the record. We would like to address some concerns we have with the new tobacco regulations. Number one, tobacco product flavor enhancer. A rolling paper with the characterizing flavor shall be considered a tobacco product flavor enhancer and therefore banned. We could not disagree with this statement more. Why would the Board of Health arbitrarily take a product that is manufactured and widely marketed as a marijuana rolling paper and call it a tobacco product? It's not made of tobacco, nor is it used for tobacco. It's a sheet of paper used to roll a joint, explicitly legal in Massachusetts. We ask that the board reconsider this ban. 2, sale of flavored tobacco products prohibited. No person, as defined herein, shall possess, hold, keep, or cause to be possessed, held, kept. Those words should be stricken from this section. The state has banned the sale of such products, not the possession. It is common for an employee, including myself, to possess a flavored tobacco product. Could be a menthol jewel from New Hampshire or cognac-dipped fine cigar given to me as a gift. These products are commonly used by employees on their breaks. We ask the board to consider rewording this section. Number 3, prohibition of the sale of blunt wraps. Blunt wraps are more commonly used and marketed for marijuana use. There is absolutely no justification for banning this product. No one has ever taken out the tobacco of a blunt wrap and replaced it with different tobacco. People replace the tobacco with marijuana to make a bigger joint. Again, explicitly legal in Massachusetts. We understand that a lot of these regulations were implemented before the legalization of marijuana. We ask that you carefully review these regulations. Thank you for your time and consideration in these matters. David and Lisa Brennan. I do have some rebuttals to this if the board's
Yeah, please.
interested. So
Yeah.
for the first one with the tobacco product flavor enhancer, as I mentioned, that's explicitly detailed in the definition of a flavored enhancer that rolling papers are considered one. So while I do not disagree that they are probably mostly used for marijuana, the fact of the matter is they may be used, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is big on that may. That holds up in court. It has been tried in court, and that's the practice of every other municipality in Massachusetts. Number 2, the sale of flavored tobacco products prohibited. So they're taking issue with possessed, held, or kept.
Right.
And I think his thought process is if an employee or the owner of the store has a flavored product on them. So I am granted the authority under the Massachusetts state law to go in and do a tobacco inspection of the premises. I am not a police officer. I am not a federal agent. I do not have the right to search a person, nor would I ever search a person. So there is, the intent of that law, of that particular line is not to prosecute or persecute an employee for having a flavored product on them. That's a personal choice.
And it's not like you'd be going into the back room. It's like if it was out for sale, then that's
Yes.
where they.
And what they're specifying is some stores, if it's explicitly on sale, obviously that's a finable offense because it's illegal. But there are many tobacco shops around where employees have it on them and they are selling it out the back door. That's what this is designed to
Right,
change.
okay.
This feels very like, I bought the fireworks in New Hampshire where it's legal.
And then
Like-
sell it, and then resell it in.
And then resell it here. Or I use it in my backyard, but I bought it legally in New Hampshire. And you're like, yes, but the possession and use of it in Massachusetts is illegal. So like, calm down. So not to be, that was my immediate look to that. Obviously, tobacco and fireworks are two very different things. But like you said, if they just have it on them and they choose to go to a different state to buy this or get it as a gift, fine, whatever. There's plenty of other people in Massachusetts who do the same thing. Like you said, that they cannot have it, as it literally says, I read it as shall not possess, hold, keep, sell, offer for sale, or even distribute, or cause to be possessed, held, or sold or distributed, which means they're possessing it to then distribute.
Yeah.
Is like how I read that. And so, yeah, if you just have this one thing on you, fine. But if you're like, I know where to get this, I'll give you this and I'll get you more later, that's now offer for sale or distribution.
Yeah, and I think the difference would be too, like if an employee had a pack of menthols in their pocket, that's their own personal property. If they have a carton in their back pocket, then they're probably selling it, and
Right.
that's a little different. So again, I completely understand the concern, Mr. Brennan has for this. It's just I would say a misinterpretation of the intent of the regulation. We are absolutely not looking through anybody's personal belongings. That's illegal.
Right.
If the police had to come in, or the Department of Revenue was doing something, that might be a different story, but as far as tobacco
Probably the-
enforcement for the town of Abington, we're never gonna be searching a
Yeah.
Well, and they
person.
both have their own regulations that they would be using, not ours, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finally, prohibition, the sale of blunt wraps. Again, he has some merit in his argument, however, blunt wraps have been illegal in Abington for at least a decade.
Right.
Whether or not the board at some point wanted to change that, that's up for discussion, but you would be the only municipality in Massachusetts
to have
allowing
it.
blunt wraps, so.
Okay.
And again, it's the same rationale that the state uses. Although they may not typically be used for tobacco, they may be used for tobacco and therefore, the problem. So, I don't know if the Brennans will be listening in, but if they have further questions, I'm more than happy to discuss it with them. I did reach out to the MAHB, for an official answer on that, but they didn't get back to me in time for
Okay.
tonight's meeting.
So interesting, because then I just want to point something out. So in section N, out of package sales, the sale of distribution of tobacco products as defined herein in any form other than original factory out package is prohibited, including the repackaging or dispensing of any tobacco product as defined herein for retail. No person as defined herein shall possess, hold, keep, sell, or distribute, or cause to be possessed, held, kept, sold, or distributed any cigarette package that contains fewer than 20 cigarettes. Plenty of people have a pack of cigarettes that is less than 20 if you're smoking them.
Yep.
The difference between this and the flavored is one's flavored and illegal in Mass, and one is allowed in Mass. That's the only two differences between the two sections.
Yeah.
You also would not search a person and be like, you're 3 short in your cigarette packet in your pocket. So I think that's a great example to use.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was trying to find that because I'd read that before and wanted to compare it. They're basically the exact same thing. One's about flavor and one's not. So.
Yeah. And what he's talking about here, where he says the state has banned the sale of such products, not the possession, there is a delineation between a retailer and an individual.
Right.
So these regulations are obviously to cover the retailer,
Retailers.
not the, if a person working in the shop represents,
Yep.
but yeah, we're not searching people's persons.
What else clarification we just made?
Chris, do you have any other correspondence?
No, that was it.
Anything from the board? Okay. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Katie's motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Amanda's second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are adjourned. 6:30.